the General Secretary of Harakati Muungano, esteemed delegates from member countries of Harakati Muungano, executives of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, of the Trade Union Congress of Ghana, executives of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, executives of the Ghana Union Traders Association, executives of the Student Representative Council, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We are gathered here today to discuss a vision for an integrated and united sub-Saharan Africa, where its people thrive in a seamless political and economic landscape, transcending fiscal colonial boundaries and barriers that have historically divided African people. The concept of a political union and an integrated African market is not merely a lofty idea, but a pragmatic pathway toward amplifying our strength and shielding ourselves from the vulnerabilities of global economic fluctuations and geopolitical disruptions. Post-independence Africa has witnessed a lot of African countries struggle to deal with developmental challenges in their separate existence. But sub-Saharan Africa has boundless opportunities and possibilities if we unite at a sub-regional group level, or more important, as a single formidable entity. Africa is a continent that abounds with several opportunities and possibilities, yet is saddled with underdevelopment challenges. Today, African people appear even more dependent, proud, and subservient than ever. We are compelled to produce what we do not consume what we do not produce. Our economies continue to remain cash crops and primary product based, with all its attendant crises of low productivity, inequitable and unfair trade practices, and low investment. Associated with these are the dwindling real incomes, rising unemployment, increasing illiteracy, declining healthcare, poor housing, and population explosion. According to the United Nations, Africa had a life expectancy of 64 years, against the global average of 73 years in 2023. The World Bank report 2023 gave Africa a combined GDP of USD $3 trillion, out of the USD $105 trillion recorded by the global economy. Left behind by the rest of the world because our participation in global economic activity continued to decline. African countries of crisis of states without a nation, elusive independence, and dreamy sovereignty continue to rob us of our dignity. Ironically, Africa is endowed with abundant resources. African continent accounts for 70% of the world's population, constituting a dynamic labor force and a large market to propel speedy development. From United Nations report, Africa is home to some 30% of the world's mineral reserves, 8% of the world's natural gas, 12% of the world's oil reserves. The continent has 40% of the world's gold and up to 90% of its chromium and platinum. The largest reserves of cobalt, diamonds, platinum, and uranium in the world are in Africa. It holds 65% of the world's arable land and 10% of the planet's internal renewable fresh water source. The region is home to the world's largest arable landmass. Yet Africans continue to die from hunger, malnutrition, and famine. The continent has at least a fifth of the world's reserves in the dozen green minerals that are critical for the growing energy transition sector. Africa's metals are essential to the rapid transition of energy systems away from fossil fuels. Despite all these, Africa's share of global trade remains a paltry 3%. According to the African Union, intra-African trade stands at around 15% compared to approximately 60% intra-regional trade for Europe, 40% intra-regional trade for North America, 30% intra-regional trade for Asian bloc. Due to the fact that Africa does the bulk of its trade with the outside world, and exports are heavily concentrated on primary commodities, the continent continues to be vulnerable to external macroeconomic shocks and protectionist trade policies. Past global economic and financial crises, which were not of Africa's making, did adversely impact on the continent's economic performance because of Africa's fragmentation, weak structures, and low levels of industrialization. African governments must work pragmatically to ensure and protect economic security, personal security, and state security of African people by establishing a union and integrating the sub-region. Sub-regional groups such as the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, the Economic Community of Central African States, ECAS, the East African Community, EAC, the Southern African Development Community, SADC, and other sub-regional state groups must begin to pragmatically collapse fiscal colonial barriers, eliminate trade barriers, effect policy reforms, and establish a union in the sub-region to expedite and sustain Africa's development. African people deserve a deep integration that goes beyond the free trade area, as promoted by the African Continental Free Trade Area. We yearn for a deep integration that transcends a customs union, a common market, an economic union to a political union in the sub-region, which will see member states exhibit the characteristics of an economic union in addition to harmonizing member states' foreign and defense policies under a common union policy. We aspire to move from a community of states to a community of people. From its very inception, the argument for a political union must rest on the foundation of economic prosperity, peace, and security. A united sub-Saharan Africa will stand stronger against internal conflicts and external threats, fostering a more stable environment for economic growth and human development. Such unity will enable us to collectively harness our resources, manage our disputes more effectively, and create a more compelling voice on the international stage. Moreover, an integrated market in sub-Saharan Africa opens doors to unprecedented economic opportunities by allowing free movement of goods, services, capital, and people across our borders. We can significantly boost intra-African trade. An integrated market means removing trade barriers, harmonizing standards, and implementing policies that encourage cross-border trade and investment. The benefits of a union and integration are manifold. A larger market will attract investment, both foreign and local, employing the factors of economies of scale that leads to expanded production, job creation, and economic diversification. Small and medium-sized enterprises, the backbone of many African economies, will gain access to a broader market, thereby fostering innovation, enhancing competitiveness, and increasing employment. Additionally, in a unified market, the diversification of our economies can be accelerated. This shifts our focus from dependence on a limited number of commodities for export earnings to more robust, diversified economies emphasizing manufacturing and services that can better withstand global economic shocks. Furthermore, integrating African markets and aligning our economic policies can pave the way for shared infrastructure projects that are more rational and cost-effective than duplicated efforts in each African country. Projects in transportation, like roads and railways, energy, telecommunications, and water resources, can be designed to benefit multiple countries, reducing cost and improving efficiency. It is essential for the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, Economic Community of Central African States, ECAS, East African Community, EAC, Southern African Development Community, SADC, and other sub-regional state groups to pragmatically collapse fiscal colonial barriers, eliminate trade barriers, effect policy reforms, and consequently integrate and unite our sub-region. Achieving these lofty goals requires robust frameworks, steadfast dedication, and unwavering commitment from our sub-regional governments. It necessitates that not only envisage a united Africa, but compel our governments to take pragmatic steps to enact and enforce policies that bring this vision to fruition. We share a common destiny as Africans, Let us therefore take up this challenge together as one people, bound by our shared future of unity, prosperity, and dignity. We must leave this conference motivated to spread the message to build a politically united and economically integrated sub-region, which posterity will inherit as a land of prosperity, security, and peaceful development. Thank you.